My name is Daniel. I'm 38 years old, and until 6 months ago, I thought I had it all. A successful real estate business, a beautiful wife named Claire, and a life everyone envied. Until the day I found out she had fought over my inheritance while on vacation with her lover. But Claire didn't know that I had done something that would change everything. Claire and I have been together for 9 years. We met at a business event in Chicago. She's smart, greedy, and gorgeous. We hit it off immediately. Back in our 6th year, everything still seemed perfect on the surface. Underneath, it seemed like there were secrets lurking. To understand why Claire's betrayal made me so upset, you have to know what I did. I wasn't born into wealth. I grew up in a working-class suburb of Detroit where my parents worked 3 jobs just to support our family. I learned how to work hard from them. When my friends got together, I would spend my evenings reading books about investing and real estate. At 26, I bought my first house by working as a field agent during the day and delivering pizza at night. I didn't stop there. I used that house to get a loan for my next investment. Within 10 years, I had started my own real estate company. At 35, I was named a real estate entrepreneur under 40 to watch by Business Edge magazine. I was at investment conferences trying to mentor young people starting out. In people's eyes, I was living proof of the American dream. And I thought Claire loved me for who I was, for how I had worked my way up from nothing to where I was today. But after everything I had built, she took $500,000 and a strange man. It all started when Claire mentioned that she wanted to go on a week-long mindfulness retreat in Sedona, Arizona. She said it was to reconnect with herself and relieve stress. Turmeric seemed harmless. Being the supportive husband I was, I paid for it. But 3 days after the retreat ended, I got a call from my banker. Daniel, he said, would you authorize 500,000 from your late uncle's trust account? I was so cool. I had never done that before. It was my design money, a product meant to secure my future. I did what any sane man would do. I flew to Sedona, and what I found wasn't Claire on top of a mountain. She was in a 5-star resort room with a man named James. I remember the sun had just set behind the red cliffs when I arrived. The hotel clerk took my key, not knowing I wasn't there to check in. I brushed past the doorman, scanning the lavish waiting area, my heart pounding. Room 714, that's where the noise came from. I rode my elevator. Each time there was a response in the project voice I'd convinced the clerk about. Rose petals on the bed, a half-full bottle of wine, Claire in a silk blouse, and James the snake there. Time seemed to pass. She turned around, stunned. This reminds me of Marcia's story. She was a retired nurse who discovered that her husband had drained their joint account while she was visiting the grandchildren. She only found out when the power went out. Standing in that hotel room, I didn't confront them. I didn't yell. I didn't even speak above a whisper. Instead, I turned and walked out, leaving the door ajar behind me. Not to impress, but at that moment, I knew I held all the cards. Claire never realized that I had seen this coming for months. The night she said she was going to yoga, the sudden danger to her financial management job, the new phone she'd left her support down. It all started to add up. I wouldn't have charged her without proof because I took action, quietly, methodically. I hired a forensic accountant, an expert at uncovering hidden transactions, and brought in my lawyer, someone I trusted like family. They scrutinized every statement, every transfer, every trust document. What they found was damning. Claire had transferred money from the trust into a shell account. She had forged my signature not once, but multiple times. Every detail was documented, every lie cataloged. While she planned her escape with James, fantasizing about a new life built on lies and stolen money, I was building something much more real and much stronger. A legal trap, airtight and unbreakable. Every signature she forged, every unauthorized transfer, every secret email she sent from her disposable phone, all became evidence. My attorney filed the clearance motions. My accountant reconciled every discrepancy, and we timed every first look for him. Claire thought she was flying undetected, but the truth was I had been secretly catching on to her plan. By the time she raised her glass of wine in that resort room, she had hit a wall on every front, financially, criminally, and publicly. There was no reset button. There was no second base. There was only consequence waiting to come. Eli, a software developer, was delighted to receive divorce papers shortly after he drained all equity in his startup. His wife had been planning her escape for months, transferring the money into a separate account. Failed. You should be more aware, more targeted, more unconvertible. That's what you define. The biggest lesson? Trust, but verify. Love deeply, but never let that love blind you to the truth. Accept loyalty, but don't lose yourself. In the end, it wasn't just Claire who broke me. It was the version of me that showed signs. I weathered this storm not only with my core resources, but also with a sharper mind, a clearer heart. I learned that true strength is in the stillness. It's in the moments when you resolve to walk away with value, not destruction. And now, with every step on these mountain trails, I'm not running from the pain. I'm moving toward the future I'm building, from rock bottom to peak. So if you're out there picking up the pieces after you've been broken, know this: you're not broken. You're becoming yourself. And the comeback, it's always stronger than the setbacks. 6 months later, my life had changed dramatically. I sold my house, which held too many memories, and traded the Chicago skyline for the vast open beauty of Colorado. I bought a modest cabin in the mountains, surrounded by pine trees and silence. At first, the silence was deafening. The nights were the hardest. No footsteps in the hallways, no scent of Claire's perfume on the sheets. But little by little, I began to rebuild. I joined a local hiking group, volunteered at a shelter, and even started a podcast about financial architecture and recovering from betrayal. The healing process wasn't linear. There were days when I still felt the sting, but every sunrise on those peaks reminds me I survived. I took back control of my life, and with it comes a powerful, powerful light. The decoder does not define you. How you overcome it is what defines it. The decoder does not define you. It may drive you to the edge, stripping you of the comfort and certainty you once had, but it is not the final answer. What defines you is what you choose to work with in the ashes. Rising after betrayal means finding strength in silence, purpose in pain, and power in reclaiming your voice. It is the pre-frame and the realization that even though someone tried to overcome you, they only saw your resilience. It is the nights of overflowing doubt, the early mornings of hopeful hope, and the moments of overcoming that you receive your scars that are proof that you have healed, not a sign that you have seen. Standing in that hotel room, I didn't argue with them. I didn't scream. I just walked away because Claire didn't know something very important. I had been suspicious of her behavior for months. So I hired a forensic accountant and a lawyer to look into our finances. It turned out Claire had forged my signature on the trust papers. But thanks to a clause in my will and a little legal magic from my lawyer, the trust had an automatic refund clause if it found trouble. $500,000. I got that when Claire drank a lot of champagne in Sedona. But I didn't stop there. I filed for divorce, froze our joint assets, and changed the locks. I even contacted her lover's wife. They were also connected. The result? Claire returned in a rage she hadn't anticipated. As soon as she walked into what was our home, her keys no longer worked. Speaker, she made the door. Brown envelope. Inside were marriage papers, a restraining order, and a forensic report detailing her financial woes. She barely had time to process when her phone lit up with a notification. Her bank account had been frozen. Then came the real blow. James's wife sent photos of Claire's affair to all of their mutual friends and family. Within hours, her social media exploded with messages of disbelief and consternation. Her once glowing reputation was ruined. Her job? Gone. She worked at a finance company, Righteousness. Really, really, really. They paid her back on the spot. Alone, humiliated, and legally walled off, Claire realized that her retreat had cost her everything, and she never saw it coming. Alone, humiliated, and walled off, Claire realized that she had cost her everything. The walls quickly came back. The friends she had dinner with every Sunday stopped calling her back. Her family of owls and tigers shunned her. The co-workers who had left her on LinkedIn, the apartment she tried to get James's public profile, he deleted his account and disappeared without a trace. The man she had risked everything for turned out to be a temporary excitement, an excitement that ended in silence and shame. With nowhere to go, no one to turn to, and her once perfect life in ruins, Claire found herself in a place she'd been avoiding for years, a public legal clinic, begging for help.